Back in May of this year, I watched an animated music video. It was animated by this channel called Movie Unleashers. The song, Chowchilla Song. Who by? Ash Bricky.
Don't move to Chowchilla, yeah, it's not where you wanna be. Your kids are smoking crystal meth and the cops might touch your teens.
Who is Ash Bricky? Well, he's a folk punk musician based in Manteca, California. He currently has 4 albums out now, with a 5th one called Sunday on its way. The albums are Sense of Belonging, Happy Little Album, Mother Wolf, and his current, most recent album, Rats, Mice, and More. While simply looking at Ash Bricky's social media bios won't really tell you much, if you actually follow him and engage with him, you'll actually learn a lot more about his character. Ash Bricky appears to be a highly spirited individual who interacts with his fan base as well as his audience on a regular basis through sites such as Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and so forth. He'll often be very vocal with his opinions on any given issue, which is exceedingly rare nowadays. He'll be outspoken about what he believes is right and wrong, and it's quite commendable. Additionally, typically on his Instagram, he'll post photos from old gigs or events that he's attended, showing how not only does he himself get support for his smaller shows, he supports other smaller musicians by attending their shows and promoting them. His first album, The Sense of Belonging, was released on February 26, 2019. It has garnered 399 views on YouTube alone, which is where I could find the most readily available statistics. It currently garners 31 likes to a 0 dislike, a 100% like to dislike ratio in favor of likes. It seems to have been generally well received, with one comment stating that they had been, quote, vibing to the album for the past hour. Real 5 hours. However, it may be key to note that this popularity is more recent, or at least seemingly so, as looking on Social Blade you can see that Ash Bricky's YouTube channel suddenly spiked with 30,000 views in January of this year, showing that whilst these albums have been out for a while, only just recently have they been getting more popular. Ash's second album, called My Happy Little Album, was released on June 1st of last year. However, it is key to note that the full album has not yet been released on YouTube. Only one song has, known as A Message to My Old High School Friends. It has garnered 621 views as of writing the script, as well as 39 likes and only 1 dislike. This shows that his audience has grown since his first album, showing a standard rise in popularity. On September 21st of 2019, Ash Bricky released his 3rd album, Mother Wolf. Mother Wolf shows Ash Bricky's first major spike in views, going from 621 on his last album to 2,235 views, 148 likes, and only 2 dislikes to date. It shows that the people finding his music, generally speaking, enjoy it. And finally, on May 1st of this year, Ash Bricky released his most recent album, Rats, Mice, and More. It has garnered 3,014 views to date, with 202 likes, but only 4 dislikes. It's actually kind of astounding to me that this guy's viewership and likeage grows with each album drastically. However, the dislike numbers rarely grow. They are growing at such a small rate as compared to the exponential growth of his viewership and likeage. Now, I was interested in getting in contact with Ash Bricky so that I could ask him a few questions in an interview style of things. We aren't able to exactly get in contact physically due to COVID, but I have other ways of getting in contact with people. I DM'd him on Twitter. Now, the whole time I had this conversation with Ash Bricky, he seemed very enthusiastic and helpful with this whole documentary project, and it was very enjoyable to have that conversation with him. I asked him a total of 5 questions that I believed would help bring out a bit more of his character, and he quickly responded with very detailed and thorough answers that I will now read out. The first question that I asked Mr. Bricky was a pretty stock standard one. How did he get into music? I felt this would sort of lay a groundwork or just say a base. See if there were any specific influences in his certain style. He told me he began mixing music back when he was 12 and he was very into EDM and dubstep music. But by the time he was 14, he was more into punk and hardcore type music. Bands like Cap'n Jazz and Mineral apparently inspired him to learn to play the guitar, the main instrument that he features in his songs. And after going to more local gigs and shows in his hometown of Stockholm, well, he grew more to be fond of the folk punk style that he currently produces today. I listened to a selection of songs from both Cap'n Jazz and Mineral to see if I could spot any specific influences in their work that I felt could be seen in Ash Bricky's music. Cap'n Jazz seems to have more influenced Ash's vocal style with loud, raspy yelling at times, similar to how he does in his song Chowchilla song, and many other of his songs, yelling out the lyrics over the loud guitar backing behind it. While I couldn't find any influences specifically from the band Mineral, this may be a result of my lack of listening to their songs. I listened to a very small sampling of each artist's song, so perhaps I'm not listening to the correct songs from each artist. The second question I asked Ash Bricky was what was his favorite song that he got to make, and he told me that it was Chowchilla song due to the energy behind it and also the instruments that he got to use in it. With the energy, it starts out Ash yelling, don't move to Chowchilla, it's not where you want to be. It's loud and it's energetic. And as for instruments, he uses guitar in it, sure, but he also, I believe at least, there's ukulele in there a little, and there's most definitely a kazoo. The third question I asked Ash Bricky was, where did the inspiration for his songs come from? What inspired him for his music? He told me that it was a variety of things, whether it was just a story he wanted to tell, a meaning he wanted to get across through song, or it was a life experience that he had that he wanted to share with people through the medium of song. This is great because now you can look at his songs in a different way. Like Black Pneumonia, I highly doubt that he has had black pneumonia, a disease that I don't believe exists. So it seems to be either a story that he wants to tell of this disease and winter that never left with black ice, or perhaps it's a song with deeper meaning, and it's up to the listener to describe that to themselves and see if they can extrapolate a sort of reasoning behind it, which I think gives his songs a bit of an air of mystery, something that's good because it keeps listeners coming back to re-listen and re-listen. I wanted to ask Ash what songs he would suggest to a new listener of his music, so that if any of you at home want to test out his music and see what it was like, you'd have some suggestions straight from the source. He said that either Chowchilla song or Rabbit 2 would be a good idea because they both gave new viewers a sense of his musical style. And I have to agree with these opinions. I mean, Chowchilla song is literally the song that I first heard and it got me hooked on his music. It's obviously pretty good for a first listener. Over my admittedly short time interacting with and conversing with Ash Bricky, he was nothing but kind and helpful. He seemed very enthusiastic and like he wanted to help with the project in ways that he could. He was very authentic, and he deserves the audience he has and more. He was just such a nice guy, and proved to me that one can gain a large following whilst not becoming a soulless corporation. The final question I asked Ash Bricky is if he wanted to say anything to close out the video, if he wanted any finishing remarks, last words. He said that to finish, he'd like to say that you should support your local scene, support local businesses, support Black Lives Matter, and that I love you. Earlier in the video, I posed the question, who is Ash Bricky? And I think I can now say with confidence, Ash Bricky is what it means to be human. Thank you guys. Peace.